All right, I'm live. Take my hat off to you guys. I love you. Hey, are these great days or these great days? So let me say, I don't know what I titled this, but our God wins, and we get to go along with Him. So let me just give you a few thoughts. Just as I kind of saw people saying, "Oh, the nation's over. This is the end of everything." Pence is antichrist, and write some example or comments if anybody can, so I can tell we're on and it's working. So, just I'd like to say, number one, it's not lost. Our nation's not lost, and just it's focus on God and the values of God. So, Jacqueline, tell everybody I'm on. This could be important. So, spread the word. I just remember when Obama came into office and how just people said this is the end of everything. And, he's a God who sees and cares. And within 4 years, there was just a huge red wave. We have 30 very decisive red states. And I'm saying there's the idea that there's just a move across the earth towards values, towards God. And we just got to keep the big picture. And so know that, there's bumps in the road. I mean, it definitely stinks. It's tough, but it's awesome to know that God is in control here. So I just want to give you a dream I had last night. And it was we were on the road to Emmaus, and Jesus had died, and we were wondering what the heck's going on. And the Lord came alongside of us and spoke, and then our hearts, didn't they turn on fire? And so in these times, we're not to be reactive. We're to go on with the greater than God. We focus on Him. We ask Him questions of hope. Say, God, how are you working in this time? God, what are you doing? And God, let our hearts never get faint. Now, realize this, very, very, very important, that merry heart is good medicine. And more than that, the demonic and those who are in a place where they just want no God and they want to have, a different kind of reality where His values aren't experienced. They want us to despair. They have us right where they want us. It's like the soldiers with Goliath. They despair. They're afraid. And so you have the David who said, look, they don't even have God with them. It's like there's no moving. He doesn't budge over accusing voices. He doesn't budge over people and the clutter and the challenges. We partner with God. And so very, very important not to react to this situation. And I'm going to give you a couple of ideas and understanding about this. But despair, again, is what they want us to do. So encourage people. If I'm not on Facebook, I don't know where I should be, but this will be saved and we'll move it to Facebook. But I think we just had to talk with Facebook, and I might be in better standing here pretty quick, so that'd be awesome. But keep the big picture. Keep the big picture. Keep confident. Know the victory's already won. It's just how we walk into it. And so there's ways that we can make it easier on ourselves. And if we just look at the facts of around the world, what's happened to those three realities that the enemy was trying to sow. You had fascism, communism, and Western liberalism. And so, the liberal scholars say globalism's finishing, this one world government reality. I mean, it's again, biblically, I don't want to talk about the comparison, but the understanding that communism, where's it at? And when Russia was the most atheistic nation in the world, and now there's such a resurgence of the Orthodox movement, but real sincerity in their worship and their faith, and it's awesome. They're very, very hungry people. They're just majority of the world is believing for this value-based understanding. The other great challenge was fascism, and you don't see fascism. Two or three, and even the third, realities that are anti-God. We're confident that sheep nations, sheep cities are coming forth, and that the death rate and mortality rate amongst children is gone. The slavery is gone. These are realities that were here forever. The poverty rate is much, much better, incredibly, in the last 60 years. The amount of giving is up. I mean, it's just, we got to keep the big picture. And we got to see that there's a voice here that the Lord just wants us to remember to partner with him, about the Western liberalism. India pronounced himself as a big secular state. And, I'm on YouTube, okay, or somewhere. So this should have went on everything, but I probably did it wrong. But we'll just get it out to everybody. But no to reacting. I'm dealing with a puppy that is causing me all kinds of grief. And I'm not moved. And we got a little shakeup in our nation. Nothing like dealing with this puppy. So I'm not going to make light of it, but I just want you to understand, like India is this great secular reality they were going to be. Well, they have a Democratic Party, the RGB, that is the strongest party there. They have resurgence in their religious understanding. And so we're not to despair. We have this other reality I dreamed about, was 1 Kings 18, and it's where Elijah went against 850, and the offering had water 3 times thrown on the altar, and he burned it up. The Lord burned it up. So we've gotten some water thrown on there, and Pence is not done yet. That he can throw it to the states, and that's what Pennsylvania asked him to do. They asked him not to just cut off debate about whether they consider the issues or not. He just said, look, it's the state's responsibility. At some point, he can say that, and that throws it into this 10-day discussion. So I think it's being informed. I would tell you another thing that's happening is the tremendous diversion. What's happening there with some of the things that are happening with the Capitol being rushed, and even the debate that was happening in the break, because they're getting the time to secure some evidence, and they have. So, I just would really encourage you on that God uses what looks like evil for good. And there's things that I just know informationally that are happening, and that just this bump stinks, but we confident, we stay in faith and strength. And that's what the Lord has us to do. But the enemy knows we're dangerous. They want us to despair so bad. So be strong and steadfast. It says, the one with composure will calm many in days of challenge. So I'm going to command peace here in a minute, and a few other things. But let me just give you what the Lord had me dream and remember, because we're not to be afraid of the government. The government's to be afraid of the people, in the sense of revere the people and their will. And so it's time to understand that Joshua 5, that the Lord is coming. And it says in Jeremiah 16, he comes first as a fisherman, fish people out. And he wants to have mercy on people. He wants souls to be saved. He cares about every hair on our head. He's a God of the big things and the little things. He's very involved in this situation. But he comes and he fishes out people and our leaders. And then if they don't respond, he says he sends a hunter. And you don't want the hunters coming after you. So I'm praying, and the Lord has, commanded me, directed me to have a sense of joy, remembrance of the God who has delivered me in so many ways or prepared me in so many situations for bumps in the road like this. Just amazing. So, I just want to repeat that Pence can throw it back to the states, and that's what they did in 1876. The vice president just didn't take over and cut off the debate. He threw it back to the states, and then that was, still, we can still do that, but there's other ways, and there's other people, and I've got their names down here that just the Lord is going to use. And God has given an opportunity for many to just ask to adjudicate major visitations of Jesus to those parties that are involved, and to do it with confidence, and for us to command peace in this situation, so that we could have that peace that surpasses understanding, so that we can really hear and see our God. I'm just using the adoration. You can find it on our webpage, I believe. That's seeing him, seeing his eyes that are abounding in love and always available, and seeing his eyes that are the eyes filled with blessing, that he blesses, overcome the curses, and decreeing who he is. And this is an invitation for us into the knowledge of God in deeper ways. And so we will not give in to, or we will not give a moment for despair, because he is the God in this place totally at rest, and totally has lots of ammo still to happen. And so, we don't want to be destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and lack of knowledge of God and what he's doing in this situation. So ask him, like the road to Emmaus, that he would visit you. And again, keep the confidence. But this is what the Lord had me dream about last night, is when I first got saved, I thought the whole world was going to respond and get saved. And it just didn't happen, at first. But here's the thing. Thank you, Jacqueline. Do that, and let me know if I ever get on Facebook, and maybe if you could text Caitlin and say, hey, let her know, because she left me the instructions to get up on here, and so it's just really important. And I'm trying to wait till people get in, but just we got many examples in Scripture of just God winning in greater challenges than this. But last night, when I got saved, I just thought everybody should want Jesus. And right away, I was 3 months old in the Lord. Mike Bickle asked me to lead the youth and young adult in our church. He didn't realize I was just a few months in the Lord, but he found out pretty quick, But so I came in one night, and I had worked all night, tired, vulnerable, and I heard on the radio a mother that killed a baby, and I was like shook to my core in my faith. I thought, where were you, God? I wouldn't never say it out loud, but I said, you're just so good, and the mother kills a baby, and it just hurt me. I just hurt my faith a measure, like, God, where were you? Don't you care? Mother killing a baby. Well, Tony Kim, excellent. Thank you, because I try to get on, and I think I'm on YouTube versus, on my Facebook account. So, to just appreciate just you guys spreading the word, because it's really significant. So, so the mother kills the baby. I come walking in. I'm carrying that. And I'm having this pain towards God, and this sense that the earth is falling apart, because it just didn't happen back in 1983, and so I come in, and I'm going to lead this youth and young adult meeting. There are about 800 of them, and Bob Jones is sitting there, prophetic man, all of you know him, and It's like a papa to me, is moved on to be with the Lord. But he called me to sit down with everybody. And I said, I got to go into my office, get prepared for tonight. And he said, you come sit, just made a joke, made it fun. So I sat with him. But I'm lost in my thoughts about mother killing a baby. Where were you, God? Sonia, communicate to everybody where we're at so they can get on this. And you guys, just know to go back and listen to the first part. So I have this pain, and like the world's falling apart, and where's God? And this mother kills a baby, and I'm just shook and injured in my faith. And I look up, and Bob Jones is looking at me. He had stopped talking, and I didn't realize it. I was lost in that world of those thoughts. And he looked at me and he said, hey, he said, heinous or heinous murders are going to happen in the days to come. Don't let it hurt you. God sees and cares. And your confidence in his love in these deep, dark situations can change these situations. And so I looked through him, and I just was gripped. Wow, that there is a possibility of, people have free will, that we can walk in and change some of those situations, and gain a momentum, not be moved by bumps in the road when there's really a movement across the earth for our God. I just stated before you guys got on, just no to despair. That's what the enemy wants us to do, and that we're on the road to Emmaus. I had a dream where the two men that despaired, and Jesus visited them, and he's going to visit different ones tonight. And we're going to command that peace that passes understanding, because that's a place of faith, and we're so dangerous in a place of faith. Really dangerous to darkness and the enemy's kingdom, and we're quickly turning on one another. And as I said before, some of you guys got on, that Pence has some more cards he can play, and we pray he plays them, where he goes back to the States, and then Pennsylvania has already said that's what they want. There's different ones that say that, but you don't do that up front. You do that as processes at a certain place in the process. But with this situation, I just want to, just finish what happened. Is so the mother kills the baby, and I get hurt by it. Bob Jones says, God sees and cares. And I just had rushed through my mind and spirit all these ways that God had cared, like when I had to have a back surgery and my mouth was so dry. I don't know why that came into my mind, but it was so precious, And in little and big situations, he showed me how he had been there and cared. So it wasn't 2-3 weeks later, when I was in an apartment complex, I had a business on the side cleaning carpets. And I hear a woman raging at her child. And the door opens, and this child is probably 8 or 9. And the mother is like 4 times the size of the child, just real big, strong, woman, and so she pops the child in the chest, and the child goes down, and then she grabs the child's hair, and she had this murderous spirit look in her eyes, and so I said, wow, we're having a good day, and she looked at me, and she didn't want me to cross the line. I'm going to make a long story short. I just said, hey, can I do something? And I said, God, you love them both. You love the mother, and you love this daughter. And I asked their names, and so they begrudgingly gave me the names. And I just pronounced how beautiful they were, and how beautiful this young lady was, and how beautiful the mother was. And still she's pushing the mother, trying to push through my arm to get to that daughter. And the Lord spoke to me, and he said, this is the mother that could kill her daughter, like what happened and you heard on the radio. And I was just brought into this beautiful place of confidence that we're going to release love here, that love that's greater. And so I said that. And I described the beauty of this daughter and the beauty of the mother. And I really believe from the eyes of the Lord in original design, the police came, but what the police found was two people hugging each other and crying. And one of the policemen had took me to the side and said that young girl was put into the hospital last year and her mother about killed her since she broke different parts of her body and, just she had almost strangled her to death, and the son was able to pull her off. And what the Lord had was good come out of evil. And there was love that was greater. Most of my life I've spent in this place called Prophetic Evangelism. I don't talk public about it a lot because it just is a beautiful place, very wonderful between the Lord and I. And I had seen or heard on that radio that situation with the mother and the killing her baby, because he was getting me past a place where I would react in pain and anger and then in the flesh and despair to a place where God saw and cared. And I knew that him seeing and caring, that he was like the Joshua 5 one. He was going to show up and he was going to say, not for me or against me, I'm for you or against you. In other words, I'm taking over. I'm taking control. And that I would get to be in those situations. We're all aliens and strangers to this earth, and we're getting to be those agents in this place and at this time for the wondrous kingdom of God to come forward. So the second example I'm going to give you is I am in a McDonald's, and this was 10 years ago, I'm guessing, and I hear a young man. I had gone to speak at a conference in Virginia, and so I'm in there and I hear a young man, college age, come over the table and grab his father by the neck and speaking murderous statements to his father, to his mother, sister, and I just haven't heard that level of venom. And it was beyond a scary movie. It was just terrifying, that feeling. But obviously I wasn't the object, so I just didn't get shook by that. But I got up and I went to the table and I said, I knew I needed to identify with him. And he was an Asian young man. I just felt like his father had been rough on him, and so, and even if that's the way he perceived it, it was to be, there was not any need to be polarized with him. Their father didn't want it, the children, and I just appealed to him. And I said, he might have really hurt you. I said, it might have by accident. I know as a father, I've hurt my children. I said, I never intentionally want to. But his rage just was not consolable. And I just said, can I pray? And I didn't wait for an answer. I just prayed. And the Lord, spoke to me, said to say it. I said, I just this isn't what you want to take over your life. I said, you got a beautiful life. You got a wonderful destiny. And I felt like I was able to prophesy a few of the potential things about his inheritance and who he was. And he looked at me and acknowledged that there was something that was different and that he attuned to. But then when he looked back at his father, that rage just had consumed him. And he looked at his mother and sister the same way. And they were trembling and shaking. And so I just appealed, just said, in this place of pain, don't make any decisions. Just allow yourself to just be ministered to by the love of God. I said, I'll meet with you, and I could just tell he wasn't that wasn't, he wasn't responding. And so the next day, I'm at this conference, and we broke because it was the World Cup, and the team was in. They thought they all were excited about a team in the World Cup, and so they were watching this TV in the middle of an open area at this university where we had the conference, and this young man comes on the TV, and he's got a Virginia Tech sweatshirt on, and I'm saying to the pastor that brought me in, was there at McDonald's with me. I said, "That's him," and he said, "Yeah, that's him. That's the guy you talked to, you know." And it says under it, because TV was turned down at that point, it was Virginia Tech shooter massacres. I believe it was 30, 35, So I remember the God who sees and cares. And I had remembered how I had shouted at the Lord after that happened. He said, "Such a big question for such a simple man." And he was very respectful and said that he would have his way. And I just knew it was a similar experience. And there's been a number of them where I graduated, where I wasn't allowing despair to take over the mother and the baby or other situations. And now here's a mass murder, and he just gets to go from this broken young man that I thought I knew was redeemable, to now, just somebody who take lives in such an aggressive way. And so what happens? So I kind of get a sense that this is preparing me. And I go to Israel after that, and I meet this young man. His name's Gary, and he was part of the volunteers on the kibbutz. And the first night I'm there, he's got a knife, and he's trying to kill the stray cats, but just butcher them. He's not drunk. He's just, you can see he loves blood. It just seemed like, And so the next night, there's two Swedish gals there that he kills one of the cats, and he's mutilating it. And I'm not going to go into everything, but they jump on his back, try to beat him up, just courageous girls. And Terry, my wife's in there in the room, and, and I'm just, I help break up the fight. And, I know he's not right mentally. I know there's something snapped there, So he, just, tries to get them with a knife, but we're able to stop him. And so, probably about the next a few days, him and this other guy from Canada, Todd, they would party and play Stairway to Heaven, and but their partying was beyond, what Hell's Angels partying. And I'm not saying they're the worst, but they're just parties I've seen. I did see one that wasn't maybe a representative of Hell's Angels, but man, it was just brutal. So, and killed animals and did just bizarre stuff. So I am meeting a mass murderer potentially, and I want to make a long story short. Part of it's funny, because they stay up all night, and they've got a plan in their room for going down to Egypt and taking out a lot of people, because we're 10 miles. We were in Ashkelon, and we're 10 miles from the border of Egypt. And they don't know I see it. So I see it. And the day before, I had confronted them because we all ate together breakfast, and we had to get up like I did at 5 to milk the cows and do work. and others did, and they're partying all night, and their music's so loud, none of us can sleep, and some of them would party with them, but it just was everybody's getting worn out, so they lean over, ask me and Terry, why don't you party with us? And I said, I hate your partying. And so Terry's like, hit me under the table, don't you start nothing. There's, they stomped in their face, I'm done. And we had both said, we're going to be gentle about our faith and slowly, but so just what happens is I tell them, I said, let's, I tell them about the love of God. They're not moved. So I said, for the love of God, and then I really speak about it, and I think it's really tender and touching, and they're not moved at all. They're just partying, being threatened. So I said, well, for the sake of human decency, so I appeal, and they're not moved. So then I say, with little understanding that they're this tilted, that they're thinking about how they can go down to Egypt, kill people. Well, I say to them, hey, I'll tell you what, at 11:30 tonight, if the music's not off and you're not quiet, I said, I'm going to get up, and I said, I'm going to take you both, and I'm going to tie you to your beds. And I said, and then I'm going to preach to you one at a time for an hour, hellfire and damnation. I said, you're going to feel the flames burn by you. You're going to see the demons grabbing you and putting you under the lake of fire. And so they said, man, you wouldn't do that. I'm thinking they're ready to fight, but I just didn't care at that point. I knew I could wrestle them down. One of them pretty good size, but tie them to their beds. And so the next night, I come out about 11:20, and it's all that loud partying, and always Stairway to Heaven. And I just smile at them. And then 11:29, they thought I was a professional karate guy and all this. So, and I could handle them with the claw. But 7:29, I come out and I'm looking at this a minute, and with the 30 seconds, music's off, and they're in bed. So I knew I had a little bit of sway with them. So I'm going to go down to Egypt, take people out. The night before they go to Egypt, Gary had been settled down for a while, but he comes after this another Canadian man, that just beautiful man, had a lot of opinions on life and stuff, and on Gary, and he was, had a good mind, so he was able to verbally, beat Gary. And so Gary gets his knife and stabs him, try to stab him, where it would count, right in the kidneys, or right in the abdomen first, then they tried to come behind him with the kidneys. But I was able to help with a couple others and pull him off. And I said, this is enough. And I picked him up, carried him to his room, and I threw him in there. And then I told the Todd to get in the room. And so I just exploded with their noble callings. And that this, I could see that everywhere they both had left in a sad way. And it had started from their youth, and that they were just headed for destruction. And then, I had found the plan, and I just really appealed to them about, I knew that they'd do it. And I just really, sometimes I feel uncomfortable going into the details of things like this, but I just knew the God that loved them and appreciated them through all that darkness. And I spoke about Gary and his nobility, and I had experiences from his life, and I said, that's the real you. And same thing with Todd. I said, you're just a lover of children, you're a lover. And I said, just he wanted to attack a particular group, and there was a reason, he had history with them. But so I just talked about they didn't understand. They loved you the best way they knew how, and that was really true. He really responded to that, but they had been harsh with him, and he just had really been hurt by it. And so there was an opening of his eyes about not throwing away his life and who he was. So they go to Egypt. I see them off. I walk with them. I sit with them, and I say, I'm gonna, talk to the other volunteers here and really make an appeal for you, because I said, you're royal men and women, and there's a love and a passion and an energy that I had for them. And I said, we're going to have new seeing eyeglasses by the time you come back. And I said, but make us proud. So they come back and they're quiet. And I talked to the others and they said, they're good people. They said, we're going to give them another chance. But, I same time knew that they had the possibility to do great evil when they left. And so again, I'm relating to the Virginia Tech boy that killed these people, and now I'm walking into an experience where I'm asking for the presence of God to be able to change that level of rage in these two. And so they go, and they went as comrades to God, and I prayed with them. But you don't know how that's going to stick and what they're going to line themselves to, because they had cultivated this level of hatred for many years. So when they come back, they're really quiet, and there's a tenderness and there's brokenness about them. What we find out is they took all this money, and they still were going to have their plans of just these homemade bombs and different things, and they ended up buying candy for the children and just daily meeting with all these children, playing games with them, giving them the candy. And neither of them were going to talk about it. It was just that holy to them, but they were just that different. But there was a third person that went with them and that let us know. And so now Todd still has a ministry there in Egypt. And it just shows that there's a redemption, there's a redeemability, that we think we're to the other end with people. And God is doing that in this situation with our election, with people. That He's giving them a real opportunity to turn to Him. He's not threatened. This diversion today actually gave people that needed to have a little bit more time to get more evidence. There was some things that broke through today. I know with just talking to people that are in those situations, that there was a real breakthrough today, and there's a confidence that we need to walk in. And as I said in the beginning, Pence has a different options here. He can throw it back to the state still, but Pence isn't God. And so if he doesn't do this or that, people that are saying, Pence is the Antichrist, down with him, this and that, just, we forgive and we go on. He's not big enough to change God's plan or change our hearts. And this is just a bump in the road. Simple little bump in the road. It really is. And it's just a little more water on the offering. And again, for those of you that are just coming on, there is, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it, but I just dreamed last night that we were going to be today, like after Jesus died, and we're on the road to Emmaus, and that He would meet us if we're asking Him hopeful questions. God, what you going to do with this? How? Because this is just, again, I used the example earlier that, after Obama was elected, people were, this is it, we're done, the end of the world. And within 4 years, there was a move to righteousness, and many that were big red wave, and I'm just not about a party, but I knew many of the people that were involved, and they got stirred up to action and ran for office, and they were people that have real tremendous value systems. And so now He's exposing some things, And, it's obvious. And we're not alarmed by evil when it means destruction by our opponent. And we look at the big picture. The earth has said no to communism, has said no to fascism, said no to Western liberalism in major areas. India, Russia, the Orthodox Church, which was the most atheist place in the world, is thriving, and there's real sincerity in their love for God. So there is a place that I saw from the heavenly place where there was other levels of evidence coming, um, and we just maintain our composure, and we do not despair, and we're dangerous when we have faith and crazy hope. And so we continue to do that. No, nothing is impossible with God. Plus, our partner is with the Lord, where we can command angel armies, we command visions. So I'm just going to close and command things that the Lord has told me to command with Him. So join in with me, and then go back and listen. It's I think it'll really encourage your heart. So God, you win. God, we just speak like the road to Emmaus that you came to them, and then our hearts burn. Jesus, our hearts will burn. And then we invite you in right now into our space, and we just command a peace that passes understanding to all the people, God, and to those that are disturbed and upset. Command peace at this little bump in the road. There's a bigger picture. There's a lot more evidence and reality on the plate that you, God, have the greatest voice. And we see, like the days of Elijah, where in 1 Kings 18, they poured water heated on the offering 3 times. There's been water that's come on the offering. You showed me last night just how I was shook when that mother killed her baby. But Bob Jones said to me, God sees and cares. And I was able to deliver a baby, a young girl, from a mother that had the same situation, and they were able to come together and love each other. I kept in contact with them for many years. Well, God, this is an awesome time for us not to react, to us not to despair, that we're strong and confident, and that's the place where we're dangerous. But God, we command peace that passes understanding to your sons and your daughters. We command the presence and the nearness of you and the visitations of you. You have always spoken about this as the Jesus movement. Second Jesus movement with wisdom will come forth, that will command angel armies, will command and move as the authoritative sons and daughters that we're called to be, that will decree a thing and it will happen, as Job 22:21 says. Isaiah 11 or Isaiah 45:11, it says, tell me what you want me to do, command ye me. We just say, God, we stand with you and command that this situation would turn to righteousness. We command that what's to be exposed in evil would be exposed, and we command mercy and forgiveness, but righteousness to come forth, that people, you said, will be terrified by the severity of the goodness of you, God, that there's a place where it's severe and you show what they could be headed for in just destruction on this planet, but also in the age to come. And God, you will show them a glimpse, and God, they'll see that your goodness is available and they'll run to it. And so, God, our ultimate desire is people be saved, they be brought into a real relationship with you. That you would not be lied about, you would not be misunderstood, because it's against God and God only is this sin, this darkness. And God, your heart made all these human beings. And so, God, we say they're yours, and we say vindicate. And the greatness of your holy name that's being profaned in the nation, God, we say we stand with you, that Jesus, you would be loved and not lonely in the cities and nations. And in Washington, D.C. right now, we cut loose worship in Washington, D.C. We command it. We decree it from every man, woman, and child, that their knees would bow, confess you are Lord. God, agree with that vision you gave me. I've had visions enough to know what's substantial. And you saw Joe Biden. I saw Joe Biden try to abdicate 3 times, say, I'm not prepared for this job. I'm not ready for it. And we all just need to know Jesus Christ. God, I command that better nature to come forth from him. God, I believe in your ability to lead over the devil's ability to deceive. God, I command that that the angel armies would go after Nancy Pelosi and remind her when she was 6 and she had a vision of you. And God, just to bring the fear of you to her, that she would not impede any of the children of God, and that she'd change and see not only was it a vision of what she was to do, but also how she was to do it. She'd never asked you that question. And God, that you would bring to her her mind and her heart just the unrighteousness, God, that she'd just want to be a better person, that she'd repent and come to you. God, I just remind you of the visions that Elizabeth Inlow, others had about Hillary Clinton and about their being the same experience where she was young. You visited her, and then she just turned into her own self-strength, and the hurts became too much, and she quit trusting you. God, that you would come to her and you would change her. God, you want to change these individuals. You sent Jonah forth, and he didn't want them to change. He wanted them to be destroyed. God, we want them to be changed, God, into those ones that see the inheritance of you, the age of restoration, that all is restored to them in your heart, your ways, oh God.